welcome to Canadian Politics is Boring. Welcome to another exciting episode of Canadian Politics is Boring. My name is Jesse Harley, and with me, as always, is Reese Waters. Reese, hello. How are you doing today? Hello. Hey, it's Reese. Hey, everybody, it's Reese. So, hey.
I just jumped out of a plane. Woo!
Didn't. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
Before we get into this episode, we've got some very, very important news. So,
you finally found pants to put on.
Yep.
And there's more.
Just to top that,
excitement never ends.
Enough.
Okay. Yes.
At the end of this episode, there is a song that we created, and I say created. We downloaded a library track and wrote lyrics and sang them over the top. And if you listen to the end of the episode, you can hear this song and enjoy this song. And also, if you go to our social media or YouTube, you can watch a music video that has got me and Jesse dancing. And you should
not watch that.
Let us know who's the best dancer.
Oh God, it's definitely Reese.
Yeah. So that's just a little bonus that we did that you can check out at the end if you want to. You don't have to. Don't feel any pressure to do any of those things.
Right. No, please don't at all.
I'm not gonna emotionally blackmail anyone to watching and listening to our song, even though we worked really hard on it.
All right, Reese, what do you got for us today?
Have you heard of a country called America, or the USA, as it's sometimes called?
It is familiar sounding.
Yeah. Okay. So you have that. That's good to know. I don't have to explain what America is to you. That's good. That's going to save us 10 minutes. So we can just go straight on with the next.
I should have said no. I kind of wanted to know how you were going to explain America to me.
So, like, America and Canada obviously have an interesting relationship because,
we have all the water.
Yeah, you have all the water. They have all the weapons, and the money, and more people, and all cities and all those things. But generally speaking, I think Canada and America get on because it's kind of like a cohabitation agreement in a sense. You kind of need each other. There's resources and things both sides that are of use, and usually is pretty friendly.
Yeah.
Is that
for now?
For now.
Yeah, for now.
At the moment, everything's fine. So, this was actually shared with us by a listener on Twitter, and they'll remain anonymous only because I can't remember who it was. Not for any other reason. It was a few weeks ago, and I couldn't find it in the feed. So, but whoever you are, thank you. So,
I'm sorry, whoever you are.
Sorry, we're really organized on this show. We write everything down, and then we lose it. So, this episode is called "War Plan Red: America's Plan to Invade Canada."
All right.
Have you ever heard of War Plan Red before?
Only I went and I know a little bit about this. I didn't research into it. I know a little bit about it only because I discovered that you were on our local news station being interviewed about our own podcast. And you didn't tell me anything about this, probably because you wanted to tell everyone else in the city about it first. So I know a little bit about the shock and surprise, but I don't actually know any details about it. Other than
I completely forgot to tell you. They rang me and you were asleep because you don't wake up till the afternoon. So and then I completely forgot to tell you. Sorry for being on a radio show without telling you. Anyway,
it's okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. So apparently, America was planning to invade us at some point.
Yeah. So
I did not know this before I found out on the radio.
I'm glad you didn't research it and spoil this episode.
No, I wouldn't have done that.
Good. So this is like the late 20s, early 30s, and it was because Canada was still a big part of. It was the British Empire was still a thing in those days, and it was still quite influential. And Canada was obviously part of that.
Is the British Empire no longer a thing?
Yeah, I think no one ever thinks that the British Empire is a thing anymore. You got the UK, and then there's a bunch of islands around the world that are still like protected by the UK and still part of the UK that are in like vast oceans, just tiny little dots, and they have the little red phone boxes and the Royal Mail and everything, and they have British accents and they have pubs, but that's it really.
Okay.
That's the British Empire is just
that's the British Empire. Lots of tiny little islands with pubs.
Lots of tiny little islands with pubs in unlikely places. There's one island. It's called the Pitcairns, and it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
The Pitcairns.
The Pitcairns, I think they're called.
Not the Kings of Pits. Okay,
not the Kings of Pits. No, and it's really remote, and is part of the UK, but it's this tiny little remote island, and everyone on there is kind of British. It's
we should do wouldn't be a road trip, like a boat trip, or I guess an airplane trip to like.
But that's the thing; it's really expensive to get there because there's no reason to go there. So it's there's no.
Well, there is now. It's for our podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway.
The
because obviously the British Empire at that stage also still had one of the most powerful navies in the world. The War Department in the USA decided they needed to have an invasion plan for Canada because they thought that Canada would be an easy target for them. They were a neighbor, and it might be a good opportunity to score a point on the UK or the British Empire and get the upper hand over the Royal Navy. So they were going to use Canada as just an easy target. They were just going to invade and take over. And they felt that if they could rush through and invade Canada, take over, blockade the ports, cut off the food supplies, then it would put them in a good negotiating position with the British Empire to have some kind of peace, or at least kind of disrupt things and get their way if they ever had a falling out. So that was the gist of it.
Wow.
So, and this was like, the 1920s, 1930s. This was after World War I. So even though everyone had kind of like teamed up, they were still eyeing each other up suspiciously. So
doesn't surprise me, honestly.
I know. So, but would you like to hear the details of this plan?
God, yes.
Now, we both live in Halifax, I believe.
Yeah.
So the actual first strike was going to happen in Halifax.
Okay. This that makes sense. We're like a huge port city.
Exactly. So step one was to drop poison gas on Halifax.
What?
Basically take out the city and the naval base.
Oh my God. Like mustard gas? Like what?
It just says poison gas. So who knows? Just gas that would kill everyone, I imagine. But obviously would leave lots of infrastructure intact. And that would mean that then the British Navy would lose its main Atlantic port. So they would be cut off from the Atlantic Ocean. And then they had like several land and sea attack options once they dropped the gas, where they were going to land at St. Margaret's Bay, which is like 20 minutes from my house, just down the road. And a few other places around Halifax.
Tell us your address, your postal code. And your address.
Come and see me anytime. If I'm not there, just smash a window and come in. And if they failed to take Halifax, they were going to then move up to New Brunswick because they thought that would be an easier target, and then
except that New Brunswick would know. Like,
yeah, they ring ahead. They go, listen, we've just had a bit of an issue with some Americans. They tried to invade. We stopped them. Just to let you know, we saw them heading your way. But I think their target was they were going to go to Moncton for some, everyone loves Moncton.
So who doesn't?
They were going to cut off the railway junction in Moncton because then they couldn't get supplies back and forth from Halifax anyway.
Well, there's other ways to get supplies to New Brunswick, but that's neither here. Okay, yeah, this is wow. Who came up with this? Who was? They were going to gas us, and if that failed, they were going to just kind of take apart a railway.
Yeah,
so New Brunswick was like going to be fine either way. They just weren't going to. Yeah, we're going to be like, oh no, where's our rail? But we were going to be gassed to death.
Yeah, and New Brunswick would have been like, poor Halifax, but we just got some rail disruption. While everyone chokes to death on their own blood in their lungs in Halifax. I imagine.
You could say anything with that Welsh accent and it would sound okay. Like there's just it's got a calming effect about you.
You could just say horrible things, horrible, just really graphic details.
That could be another podcast. Horrible things said by a Welshman in a calming tone. Just
in a really jolly, kind, warm way. Read it like you would read a kid's book to a child. Just read it in that style.
Can you describe some of the horrors that would have happened during this attack, but in a calming, jolly sort of tone?
a kind, loving gentleman would be walking down the street in Halifax, maybe on Barrington Street, maybe on Sackville Street.
I'm regretting this already.
And suddenly he hears the sound of a plane, but it's not a familiar plane. It's an American plane. He knows about planes.
I feel like I'm tucked into bed.
And as he was walking down, suddenly the air smelled differently. And then he realized he couldn't breathe. And then he realized he was slowly going blind and his vision was turning red as blood poured out of his eye sockets. And then, as he fell to his knees on the floor, he coughed so hard his lungs fell out on the pavement in front of him, crying with what was left of his vocal cords. He then passed out on the floor, dying horrifically. 5 minutes later. Here we are. Is that okay?
That was amazing.
Thank you. So that's what would have happened in Halifax if the Americans invaded. Do you want to hear what would happen to Montreal and Quebec?
Please.
Nothing as horrible as that. They were just gonna. They had routes from northern New York to Montreal and from Vermont to Quebec, and they were going to basically just land invasion. They were just going to send tanks and people up, and then they were going to take control of Toronto and all the industrial areas to stop Canada and Britain from manufacturing any kind of munitions or any more vehicles to attack the US heartland in the Midwest. And then they were going to attack from Buffalo across the Niagara River and from Detroit to Windsor and from, how do you say it? Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah, actually, that's
hey, that was my French is getting better.
It is getting better.
I took the criticism to heart.
And did nothing to learn better French.
I just got lucky first time with that one. So
you didn't actually teach yourself, yeah.
From Sault Ste. Marie into Sudbury, and then they would then control the Great Lakes and all the transportation across the Great Lakes, and then Winnipeg.
Oh wow, they had it wasn't just Halifax; they were going to take out all of Canada.
So Winnipeg.
Is in Winnipeg.
They described Winnipeg as the central nexus of the Canadian rail system.
They apparently don't know us very well.
And they've got a Boston pizza.
That's what we want. Yeah.
So, and Harvey's, which they don't get in America, which they really fancy. They'd heard a lot about it. It's like Subway for burgers.
Yeah.
And they wanted and they saw, I love it, they described it as seeing no major obstacles when they were invading Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah, no, none. That's oh, just Winnipeg? Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
No,
that's
nothing.
That's
I'm not worried. So, and then Vancouver was
the only problem with them invading Winnipeg is the defending forces in Canada would see them coming for miles. It's just flat land. There's no hills or mountains at all. It's I mean, that's the prairies. I don't know about Winnipeg.
They probably hear them. Like, I know that when the Americans were in Iraq and Afghanistan, they blast like loud rock and roll music as well. So I imagine the 20s? So they'd be like blasting like ragtime music from their tanks as they came. So you probably hear them first. Ragtime and jazz. Anyway.
Put your pants back on. Here's a message.
So then, and apparently Vancouver, they weren't that worried about Vancouver because of his distance from Europe. Its importance was kind of like not as big a thing. So they still wanted to deny Britain a naval base in the Pacific Ocean. So they were going to invade Vancouver, but they didn't really put too much thought into it in comparison to the rest. So I think Halifax was the big one. That was the big military port. So that's why everyone got gas and everyone else just got inconvenienced. So,
who came up with this plan and how did we find out about it?
It was put together by the War Department. So it was a bunch of like generals and people, I guess. But in 1931, they sent Charles A. Lindbergh covertly as a spy. He was like a Nazi sympathizer, and he was at the Hudson Bay to investigate the idea of using seaplanes for warfare and to seek out points of kind of low resistance and easy places to invade across the Hudson Bay. And then in 1935, Congress authorized $57 million to build 3 secret airfields on the US side of the Canadian border with grassed over landing strips
Wow.
to hide that it was an airport. So, and I imagine they just they had the air control tower, and they probably just put lots of ferns and branches over it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. And a big sign out front saying "not an airport." That's yeah.
Exactly. It's like a mini golf course or something.
Yeah. No, don't say it's a mini golf. That would attract people. Like Canadians love mini golf. It's just
a rundown, haunted mini golf course.
That's even more attractive. Are you kidding?
Exactly. So
say it's like a gun range. No one would go. It's fine.
Exactly. Everyone avoids that.
Yeah.
So like they believed that apparently though, the Royal Navy had never really prepared a formal plan for war with the United States in that kind of era. This is the British kind of military in London. And they generally agreed that if they lost Canada, it wouldn't be fatal to Britain and they'd just carry on. They'd be fine.
Yeah, I always got the feeling they never really were too keen on keeping us like they just didn't really care one way or another.
So big and it's so cold and it's so far away. And all these other, it was like, let's just stay on our little island, which rains. It's fine. No one will want to invade.
It's so big and so cold and so far away is probably the reason why they didn't invade. Honestly,
and if they gassed Halifax, there's half of the pubs in Canada gone. So
right, very
little incentive for a British person then.
Did you know that statistic that we have the most amount of bars and pubs per capita in all of North America here in
I work in Halifax. I walk through downtown Halifax all the time. It's literally every other building is a pub. So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
it is great. It's wonderful. Exactly.
How many have you visited so far?
Ask me how many I haven't. I'm joking. I'm working my way around slowly, but I really like some of the pubs and the bars. And even during lockdown, they just moved all the table and chairs outside.
Yeah, I know. It was
which is genius. So I think historians say that it would have been a stalemate. So America would have invaded Canada, and then they would have gone, now what? And Britain would have gone, I don't know. What do you want to do? So, where do we go from here? Sorry about Halifax. How do we move on from this? So,
right?
Exactly. But also, Canada actually had his own secret plan to invade America in the 1920s.
No, we did not.
Yes,
there's no way we could have that's.
So this guy who sounds like a character from like a 1970s World War II film, Lieutenant Colonel James Buster Sutherland Brown. Lieutenant Colonel James Buster Sutherland Brown.
Lieutenant James Colonel Buster Sutherland. Lieutenant Colonel James Buster Sutherland Brown.
What? His name is James Buster Sutherland Brown, but Buster is his nickname, is in inverted commas. That wasn't his given name. I don't know why they called him Buster. But anyway, so he came up with Defense Scheme Number 1 on to April the 12th, 1921. So he got it right in the first draft.
He didn't do a number 2.
No. This is good. Do you want to check it? Nope. Thank you. You don't want to, just get a seconded opinion. No, number 1 is great. So Buster believed that he maintained that the best defense was a good offense. So he planned a rapid deployment of flying columns across the border to occupy Seattle.
Flying what?
Falls, flying columns.
Flying columns?
Yeah, flying columns.
What's a flying column?
A small, independent military land unit capable of rapid mobility and usually composed of all arms. So it's just a kind of a
never heard this term before.
I imagine I just read it off Wikipedia to you.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. According to this, flying columns are mentioned by Sun Tzu in his Art of War in such a fashion that indicates it was not a new concept at the time of writing. It dates to the 6th century BC, possibly the late 8th century BC. So it was the Romans used to use it. So basically you just send a highly mobile, really diverse unit in advance. They've got small guns, they've got big guns, they've got loud guns, quiet guns.
What other guns do they have, Reese?
Blue guns, guns that don't work, guns that work really well.
To start making the rhyme.
I know. I know. So, just all the guns. And those cartoon bombs that say bomb on the side that are round and black with a big...
Wile E. Coyote uses.
Exactly. All those. So that they were going to... These comedic columns were going to fly and occupy Seattle, Great Falls, Minneapolis, and Albany. And they knew they had very little hope of holding American cities against American troops.
Right.
And it was essentially kind of like a suicide mission. They were just going to dig in and fight until they ran out of everything or got killed. And the idea was they would hopefully long enough until the British and Commonwealth allies sent reinforcements.
Oh my God, what?
So their plan was, let's just go and attack them. And then
until we die and backup arrives.
People come and help us. Which I love. Lieutenant Colonel James Buster Sutherland Brown was ballsy.
Can you say that without reading it off your screen?
Lieutenant Colonel James Buster Sutherland Brown. It's a very easy name to remember.
It just rolls off the tongue.
I know. Exactly.
You should go as him for Halloween.
I will. I don't know what he looks like. I don't
think anybody knows what he is. So you could just put on a wig and just say it, and like everybody would be like, oh yes, of course you are.
There are no pictures.
Even better. Yeah. Who can say you don't look like him?
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Try and prove my historical accuracy. I dare you. He did have a comedy mustache. Good. Anyway, so the War Plan Red was declassified in 1974 and caused a kind of a stir of relations between Canada and the United States.
But the states... invasion plan to Canada did not cause a relation problem between us?
It did. It caused a bit of a stir. But then,
I was going to say.
Then Canada had its own plan as well with its flying columns. So
that seems much more...
The main thing is, nobody died. Nobody got gassed horribly like that poor man in Halifax that we described earlier.
You really did read like a children's book. Like, just say it.
We'll have to get an illustrator to illustrate it.
If any of our listeners out there wants to illustrate Reese's story time with the gassed man from Halifax, please feel free.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Like in London and the UK, everyone had gas masks during World War II because they were convinced Hitler was going to drop gas. It's not a nice way to go.
No.
Yeah. No. I wouldn't want to go that way. I want to...
How do you want to go,
Reese? Out of a cannon.
Yeah,
fight out of a cannon.
Like your grandfather before you. Yeah,
exactly. It's a family tradition. There's a jewel on my hand, and when it turns dark red, my time is up.
What?
Haven't you ever seen that film?
No. What?
I can't think of the name of the film.
This is a movie.
There's a movie. It's a sci-fi film, and the future, the world is ruined, and everyone lives in this dome. And it's like a utopia. They don't have to work. They don't have to do anything. They all have big orgies. And when you're born, you have a diamond on your hand, and it's like a light color. And as it turns darker, when you get to about the age of 30, it means then you have to be killed.
Shot out of a cannon.
No, you have to be killed. You get absorbed into this energy to make new people. So you can only, because there's a limited space, they then have to, nobody lives beyond 30. And it's a sci-fi film from the 70s. And I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry.
No, yes. Oh, so sorry. You can't remember the name
Logan's
of that movie?
Run. Logan's Run.
No, I'm not going to watch it.
Logan's Run. It's great.
I've heard of it.
I'm not going to... We did have some criticism of all the spoilers. We ruined Waterworld.
For Waterworld? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to tell you what happens. But
That's thank you. Yeah, no, I'm gonna immediately go and watch Logan's Run. That's for
you should. It's a good film. You remember, like, it was kind of like pre-Star Wars. So it was when it was like that era before people had to kind of up their game with sci-fi, and it could be a bit shit but still good.
That's most 70s movies, Reese.
Exactly. So yeah. So did you have fun learning about the invasion plan of Canada from America?
I don't take joy in the fact that America has plans to gas us to death. That's not,
Well, they did have plans.
They did. Well, it's not like they disappeared. They're still
no, but they probably got better plans now. That
right? Yeah. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
That's just be like a nuclear weapon. At least you won't choke on your own lungs. You'll just be turned to dust within the blink of an eye.
Right. Well, I mean, it'll be the Halifax explosion number 2, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. Fun times, Reese. Thank you.
So thank you for listening, everyone. And don't forget the music video is going to come after this.
Right. Well, yeah, without the video. Just the song.
Without the video. It's just the song. You can enjoy the music. We didn't put it at the front because we don't want people to turn off. I'll go to find a different podcast.
I think we should make a music video every week, Reese. Just saying.
Yeah. I have all the time in the world to make music videos constantly.
It's not like you have 2 companies and 3 kids. It's not.
No. I'm just twiddling my thumbs most of the time. So
thank you, Reese. This has been educational.
Yay. On with the music video.
On with the music song.
Not the video. This is just audio. On with the song. Go and look for the music video. I got confused. I'm sorry. Close your eyes. Imagine the video.
Oh, that'd probably be way better than the video we made.
Jesse, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready, Reese.
Canadian politics. Canadian politics. Canadian politics. Canadian politics.
You'd think it's really dull and the choice that's last, but we'll show you that it's fun with our dumb podcast. From Justin Trudeau beating a man in the head to Mackenzie King getting advice from the dead. Corruption, sex, bribery, and genocide. Timbits, aliens, bunkers, and pesticides. So download, subscribe, please rate. You'll learn so much nonsense your mind will ache. Weekly releases about 20 minutes long. Reese, why did you write these details into this song? So listen in the bath or on the drive to work. Find us on the Frequency Podcast Network. Do it. Canadian politics.
You should know. Politics in Canada's way more interesting than you ever imagined. This country's a lot less boring than I thought it was, and I lived here my whole life. I can't sing.
Download the podcast.
Or else.
Please download the podcast.
Or you'll never see your brother alive again.
Cool. I'm just gonna. That's enough. I think that's
enough. That's enough.
That's enough.
You can't sing at all, can you?
I know I can't.
Oh, hey, Internet. Do you ever wish you had recorded your heart-to-heart conversations? Well, that's what I do every week on the Intoxicated Podcast, the comedy variety talk show that gets personal, where I chat with comedians, creators, and characters. There's no small talk on this podcast. Subscribe today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts. New episodes every Friday. That's Intoxicated, TALK.